Well, let's keep that going now. Senator Jacqui Lambie joins us. Jacqui, before we get to China, I do want to ask you about this. So basically the IMF had said last week, you've got these big infrastructure projects that are leading to increased costs for, simple home rebuilds. So is Chalmers right to pull back on big infrastructure, or are you of the mind that more infrastructure is needed?
If you're going to build more houses, mate, you need more infrastructure under the ground. It's got to be built. You just can't, you can't have plumbing and electrical stuff. These new suburbs, they need all this stuff, mate. They need the infrastructure. The other thing is, we have an Olympic Games going on in 2032 in Queensland. What, it's just pull up and don't do anything?
Wow.
Seriously, mate, this makes no sense. I really think he needs to go back to the drawing board. But you just can't stop infrastructure spends. Fair enough. I know when they first come into power, Labor said, they'd been overspent, there'd been infrastructure that had been put down for future builds. I thought they'd already gone through that and knocked some of that stuff out, knowing it wasn't viable and not needed from after 9 years in the Libs. But seriously, mate, if you're bringing migration into this country, you're going to need more housing, more suburbs, and unfortunately, they need a lot of other stuff that goes with them. And they are big builds. That is big infrastructure. You just cannot stop that.
Well, I guess then if you're going to have increased infrastructure and big builds, and the prices for homes and renovations, that's all going to keep increasing as well. So does this dovetail into the line we just heard from Simon Birmingham that the government's got no plan to tackle inflation when you're looking at quite possibly another rate rise tomorrow?
Yeah, it is starting to get extremely worrying about inflation, I can assure you, and I can tell you now, I think there's, about 600,000 people coming off fixed interest rates as well over the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to be a problem in itself. It's not looking really pretty, but they really need to come out with some more moves here, the Labor Party. They said they had all this under control when they come in. They knew what they were walking into. And I tell you what, the honeymoon is well and truly over, mate. There is no doubt about that.
Well, looking to a news poll today, it certainly seems like it is. Just on to China, Jacqui, how do you feel about these developments relating to trade out of China, first of all?
I've always had a problem with us dealing with China. First of all, you cannot trust the CCP as far as you can put a boot up their backside. But once again, we continue to try and do trade with them all the time, and putting all our eggs, or at least I believe 30% of our exports are now going to China. Why do we continue to bother about them? Why aren't we looking at other trade avenues? We've got India's a whole new open up there. We've got the Asia Pacific out there. I just think we should be trying harder, mate, with our trade deals with other countries rather than relying on China so heavily. It is becoming a real problem, Pete, and it's been a problem for a long time. You cannot trust the buggers. Mate, our beef farmers are nearly on their knees. Their beef has dropped half price over the last 18 months. And you know what? And they're saying, we're not going to take your beef for a bit longer yet. What are they doing? Circling our farms, waiting for them to go under so they can come in and buy them up. That's where we're at with China.
OK, so if they change their rules around beef, would you change your mind?
If they can get the beef in there, good. And if they wanted to show some goodwill, they would have already done that. But if we have to wait another 5 months, I just feel like they're just leading us on. I just hope that Don Farrell is going around other countries and trying to cement other deals where we can have more stability, not just today, but in the future with our deals.
So in that sense, China joining the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, the Pact, would you be against that?
Look, I thought the pack was doing pretty well with what it's got. And if it's saying that, if it's already starting to push its chest out and say, Taiwan can't be a part of that or whatever, then why would you invite them in? You know what? They might be able to dictate in China, but they should not be allowed to dictate to any other country outside that, mate.
Yeah. So your view is, look, China's just going to do what's in China's best interest, and China has punched us in the nose before. Your view is, well, what's to stop them from doing it again?
Yep, exactly, mate. How many times do we need to be punched in the nose, mate, before we're down and out? Start looking for other avenues and try a bit harder.
Jacqui Lambie, appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.